right, so Vickie Lan is back for Creators Corner. As an author herself, she has a wealth of insight to help creatives like yourself improve their work as writers. Hope her tips help you.
Thank you, Garrett, for having me on your series. I'm very excited to share some writing tips with you. I had to think about this because one of the things I love to do is ask other authors and writers about their writing tips, and so I feel like I really like to learn from other people. So now that I'm in the seat to share my tips, I was like, it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to share because I wanted to make sure that I shared something that was authentic to me, was useful, hopefully, and didn't make assumptions about other people's writing processes. So what I decided to settle on today was how to stay interested in writing your own manuscript. Writing a manuscript takes a long time. It takes, I mean, if you are a genius and you can fly through your words, maybe it takes a couple of weeks. For me, it definitely takes several months. And so many things can happen in that given month. You can lose interest. You can get distracted. Something huge can happen in your life and you forget what you were working on. That happens to me all the time. So as I've been writing books, and I've written several now, um, I've come up with a couple of tips and tricks to how to stay interested in my own work. And so here are about 3 of them. So, number 1, if you are bored, the reader is bored. And this is probably one of the hardest hits of reality. There have been so many times where I've been working on my book and I'm stuck in a scene and something is keeping me from moving forward and I just can't stay interested. I 100% have lost interest. And sometimes that could be due to burnout. And sometimes that could be like you just happen to be in a slow point in your book, which makes sense. There's pacing that you have to think about. Um, but sometimes that's your book telling you something and your gut is telling you something. So when I say, how can you stay interested in writing your own manuscript? When you start to feel that slog, take a step back, maybe take a little break and come back to it and ask yourself, why are you feeling that way? It very well can be because you are starting to go into a territory that is slogging the book. And if you're feeling that, your reader is going to feel that. So how can you spice that up to be more interesting for you? One writer had made a fun recommendation and I can't remember who it is, I would love to credit them, that if something isn't feeling right, just change the weather. And I did that recently on a manuscript. And luckily for me, the weather was an actual plot point and symbolic. And so, if anything, I was like, this is the perfect opportunity to deploy that piece of advice. Let's change the weather. Other times it could be, let's change the starting point of the chapter or the scene. Let's change it to a different perspective. What character, let's put some action into it, or ask yourself, why is this losing my interest? Why am I bored? Are you repeating something that you've already said? And you're kind of sending yourself in circles. If you're feeling that, your reader's definitely going to feel that. So I think when it comes to staying interested in your own manuscript, be open to using that as a tool. Don't see it as something that's holding you back. See it as a clue for how you can unpack the next writing sprint in your process. Secondly, plan ahead, but not too far ahead. I made a huge mistake of trying to outline my entire book, and then it wasn't fun anymore. And I realized how much reading is an adventure for me. It's a process of discovery. And once I wrote the entirety of the story down, I lost the intrigue in my own story. Why is that? Probably because I felt like as I'm writing chapter 1 or chapter 2 or chapter 3, whatever chapter, I felt like I was just revisiting something I already knew and just moving my way through the paces. And for some people, that might be perfectly fine and they like that sense of order. For me and for anyone else who finds themselves struggling to sit down and find inspiration, or just motivation after you've already planned the whole book, you know exactly what you're going to write, but now suddenly you can't write it. I highly recommend maybe planning out the first act, just the first act, and then a fuzzy idea of what you want the ending to be. And then the writing process becomes a fun puzzle on how you're going to get from point A to point Z. And that in and of itself becomes the adventure. And what's nice about keeping that ending kind of nebulous is that as your characters grow and you start to explore them and their motivations, you can continue to flesh out your own ending. You're not stuck with any set ending. This has helped me with flexibility. It's helped me to stay motivated. And when if I'm really being honest with myself, that first book I wrote was with this mindset. And anytime I try to outline the entire book following that, just can't seem to sit down and write it. So I've learned that I need to keep a little mystery for myself. And then finally, my third tip, honestly, and this kind of went with tip number one, but just walk away. Walk away with your manuscript. If you're starting to get pissed at your manuscript or bored with it, just leave, because sometimes there's so much going on in your own head. You've got to tackle so much with your life that you may be battling conflicting feelings or stresses that you don't realize that you're dealing with. And what's so great, and my favorite part about coming back to a book, is suddenly everything seems so crystal clear. This is always hard for me, though, I will admit, because when I'm in the zone, I want to finish. And books are like they're definitely a test in endurance. And for me, I've had to learn how to walk away, because if I walk away for like a week, I have that risk of losing interest, right? That my brain's like, okay, on to something else. But what I love about it is sometimes you do need to let your brain let go for a little bit before you can come back and you can say, oh, this, now I know what to do to make this better. Now I know what to do to get the momentum back. So I meant my advice number 3 and advice number 1 are kind of related, but I don't know. The writing process is super interconnected. It's this fun little nebulous process inside your head, and yeah, just in the end, trust your gut, have fun. Don't put yourself in too many boxes at once, and just enjoy the creativity. So there you have it. Again, I'm Vickie Lan from Speculative Sandbox podcast. Check me out wherever you stream podcasts. Thanks again, Garrett, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Big thank you to Vickie for being this month's Creators Corner guest host. Now, if you'd like to connect with her and check out her work as an author and as a podcast host, you can find all her links down in the video description.